Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. It's a Saturday morning here in TTDI. We are at Muka Bar, an event space on top of Muka Cafe. And today we're going to be talking about, it's our first time talking about a discussion called Cybersecurity is Everyone's Responsibility. All right, so allow me to give you a brief introduction of the topic. Many aspects of our life, including school, communicating with friends, are so dependent on devices that are connected to the internet, even more so post-pandemic. So while these internet-based devices do offer empowering opportunities and experiences for us and our development, they are also putting us at risk of being compromised by cyber criminals. So with that, we have with us here two experts from the field. All right. First is Razwan Mokhtar, better known as One. Okay. One has 20 years, more than 20 years of experience, one of the pioneers in the field, and he focused more on this career when you were 21 and you were invited to be a consultant for the Cybercrime Royal Police Force. That's amazing. Thank you for being with us. Also, Quentin Bignon, an IT consultant, also helping out One with his mission to raise cybersecurity levels in Malaysia. So thank you so much for joining us. So we start our discussion with perhaps a bit of an intro or definition to cybersecurity. What is cybersecurity?
Assalamualaikum and good morning to Huda and Quentin. Thank you to Muka for sponsoring the space and organizing this event. So, cybersecurity is a practice that we use in order when we use the devices, digital devices. So the practice to protect us from a cyber criminal and also a bad practice. Example like we lose data or something and lose of data privacy. Yeah, this is cybersecurity.
If we can give you an image or maybe a way to think about it is to really detach the two words. You have cyber and security. Security, everybody understands what it is, right? And cyber, you have to think of it as a new dimension. Right? We no longer live in a world that's purely physical, if it ever was, depending on what's your take on life. But
yes.
You know, there's more to life than just what we see out there. Right now, we live mostly with internet. So. Security is very easy to understand. Security is, putting your seatbelt when you take your car, is making sure the knives are out of the reach of your children. And if you're a state, is making sure, you can defend your population by having a certain military capacity. And that's all real physical stuff, right? Now, cybersecurity is pretty much the same, but for things that are online, right? So
digital sphere.
Putting your seatbelt is, for example, having a password. Making sure that the children don't have access to the knife is making sure they don't have access to websites they shouldn't be. And governments do have military capacities also in the digital realm. So it really is a new dimension, and it is security. Yeah. It's about your safety and your integrity.
Yep. And this new dimension, as far as I am concerned as an educator, it's a new field in the I think there are new jobs in this market, or there are more opportunities for people to learn and also teach, and also best practices. Yeah, so let's dive into it. Cybersecurity is security, but on those platforms that are digital, right? So some of us who might be aware of it or who might not be aware of it, this is the time to open up our eyes and actually go into it. It's a field, kan? Cybersecurity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is a field, yeah.
It's almost a dimension.
A dimension.
Right? So to really break it down, security, we all understand what security is, right? Your seatbelt is part of your security in your car. Making sure the children can't access the drawer where you have all your knives is part of security, right? Now, this is in the physical dimension. Now, the moment you go online, there's another world, which is the digital world or the cyber world, right? And security still applies. So cybersecurity really covers that entire dimension. The moment you also need to be safe. You're not always safe. There are people with bad and accidents that can happen, like losing your data. So it really is just an extension of security because the physical world has now a new extension, which is digital. Yeah.
True. Thank you for that explanation. Yeah, it's definitely digital to the point that things will look different. Things that security that we know is no longer the same online. Yeah. So perhaps to give us more insight, where is the state of the current security? Let's say in today's world, even with the rise of usage of the internet now booming after the pandemic, everyone's at home. Is there anything that we should know about the issues regarding this? Yeah.
So let's go back on March, on April, right? That's whereby when the first lockdown, right? So everybody is like, all the businesses and the school is like, okay, let's shift to Zoom. Remember, there's a part where Zoom is an issue whereby everybody, a public can jump into the conversations, and it become a world issue whereby a lot of countries try to ban it, at least to understand the risk. So this is where you can see when we try a new method, because we have to jump to Zoom because we can't travel. It's locked down. So it opened up to another threat, right? So this is where what kind of threat we're having there. So we can see there's a conference where the big meeting happens and a public a bad guy jumping to the meeting and listening to it, all the privacy and information in the meeting. So you can see this is current state of cybersecurity right now. Because of this, the new...
the ease, right?
Yeah.
It's so easy to just, something like that to happen.
Yeah, and then we open up a new threat, right? So, and then we have quickly need to solve it. So this is current state whereby we all need to learn together and bring in the same education, so we have keep the Zoom secure in this particular problem. Yeah.
To add to one, your question was what's the current state and what are the types. So obviously, since work from home, since learn from home, since live from home, really, which means really live online. That's what it really means. We are a lot more exposed to whatever's out there digital. So for the good and for the worse of it, right? So that's why cybersecurity is increasingly important. Now, if you want to know what is the landscape of the threats that people are facing, well, today what we see is a lot of data breach. So this could be typically people that use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a password. Because today, every time you want to access a new app or a new service, a new web page, they always ask you to create an account. And we all can't be bothered to remember all our passwords, so we typically use easy ones. Bad people can actually just discover them very easily. And once they access your account, then they might get information on you. Sometimes it's just your direction or your pseudonym, but sometimes it could be your payment details and other stuff. So I think data loss and theft is something that people should be aware of. Another thing is phishing, which is basically, again, bad guys sending you emails to trick you into clicking on a link or installing a program that will actually be a virus on your phone or on your computer. And then another threat that's very important over the past few years, and that has moved from targeting individuals to businesses and increasingly hospitals and public institutions, is ransomware, whereby the criminal will get into your system through phishing and data theft. And then what they do is they encrypt all your data. They lock you out of your data, and you have to pay them in order to get it back. So there's actually quite a lot of there's quite a lot of threat. And if you think about it today, you know, financially, for example, it's more likely that somebody will steal money online than, you know, take it from your wallet in the street. I mean, today, if I wanted to dedicate myself to stealing a bank, right? And I advise everybody not to, but you know, this idea of, you know, I'm gonna get in the bank with a gun and get out with money, that doesn't apply in our day and age, actually, because everything is digital.
It feels,
you know?
quite archaic already.
Yeah,
Right? That
I mean,
scene.
if you open the safe of a bank, you're likely finding very little inside it. But if I am able to hack the computer, the computers of the bank, the network of the bank, then I can actually extort a lot of money. So I think really people have to understand that the more their life is online, the more their stakes, what they own and what they are dependent upon is online. And that's why they have to be really aware of this reality and really think responsibly about how they manage their interaction and the interaction of the people under their authority, like their children, for example.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and I think it's like that because the internet has been available for a very long time. So some of us who are in and out of different life phases, we might forget, like leave footprints, but we forget. And digital footprints are also like trackable, right? Like,
computers never forget.
Oh my!
That's the difficult part. Yeah.
I think I would like to add a certain thing which is it goes to the public as well, right? Whereby to the user itself. So based on police statistic, Bukit Mas statistic, in 2019, there will be 90 millions of damage in terms of love letter scam.
Love letter scam.
This is a Nigerian scam.
It's one of the phishing techniques.
Say whereby they act like they are, like example, they act like, they've been posting fake image, a nice image of them. Let's say they've been traveling around the world, been working hard, and then they will trick the users saying that they are lonely, and then goes to the elderly, that pension, they are alone at home, and then they have time to chat. So this is the Nigerian scam whereby they use their psychology to reverse it and try to get money from you. So this is 90 million in 2019 alone. 90 million, that's huge of number. So this kind of awareness that we need to reach to people out there. To be careful. If it's something that good to be true, you need to be careful with it. Like people come to you and say you are nice all the time, make you feel better just for the sake of to trick you. Yeah. So 90 million ringgit is no joke.
Yeah, 90 million in 1 year.
Yeah, for that particular case, it's not in whole. This is like a lot of breakdown in cybersecurity. There's a online scam. There's a e-commerce. Online e-commerce is the same. There's a phishing. That for the particular love letter scam is 90 millions. Yeah, so it's a lot of money.
That's really a lot. It's like to think about how our economy is like going down, but other people are,
90 million is a lot, knowing that it's a specific love letter scam.
Yeah.
Now, if you put those 90 millions within the bigger picture of the actual cost per year of global cybersecurity, it's a drop in the ocean. That's what people really need to understand. I mean, we're talking about thousands of millions in US dollars that are being lost or stolen every year, right? Be it through hacking of companies, of individuals, of states, because you have a lot of damage associated to cyber attacks. One of them, of course, is, and the people typically understand this one easily, is direct theft of money. That's obviously you're losing money, people understand that. But for a company today, especially in the work from home environment, having your IT system down means you can't operate. Now that's a very damaging cost as well. And the third cost is, if you're like a Main Street brand and you are being hacked and it is known, then your reputation goes to the drain. Because today, when most of our, an increasing amount of our purchase is being done online, especially in advanced countries like high mobile penetration, which is Malaysia. I mean, we're all on using Grab and all those platforms. I mean, if I want to buy on this online mall, and then I learn that they've been hacked, right, and that all their data has been leaked, I'm not going to use them anymore. Right, so it really, really matters. It really isn't something. It's not something trivial. It really is. The government last week, I think, has released a blueprint for the digital economy. It's a big priority. Malaysia is very proactive towards engaging with this. What they call the Industrial Revolution 4.0 and the digital economy and all this. But the more we become digital, the more our digital security matters, right? And
with great power being online, that responsibility, yes. Whether we, as much as we're not aware. I mean, for me, I think I'm guilty of how 2020 ended. I was taken aback by how much my life is online. My classes tend to be online. I hang out with my friends online, and it's really weird. But with this, people say we were forced to live online, and for sure, this force also, that means we have to accelerate our learning. How can we secure ourselves more, right? Yeah.
So I would like to add when Quentin mentioned about ransomware, right? So why ransomware become so hot, right, for the criminal? Because it's very profitable. It's very, very profitable. And then who are there? Who are behind the operations, right? So when we look at this, how persistent they can monitor, they can be in your computer for years. They can be in your computer for years monitoring, collecting your data because they have the complete team. They are like a normal company. They have the project manager, they have the one who's gonna take care of the account, they have a programmer that's gonna code the source code, the exploit. So this kind of thing that we need to worry of. They are not like kids staying in a room anymore, like 20 years ago.
It used to be like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this is a organized crime. So for us, another part, to catch them is another part. And we can see people suffering toward it, lose money, everything is another part. This is very, very critical situations. So this is where I think come back to the topic, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility. Yes, but it's too huge for one single person or single organization to take care of it. We must take care of ourselves, to take care of devices and know what we do.
Yeah, and to add to your point and perhaps go a bit ahead and talk about what's happening in Malaysia. I mean, we've had an event. Something's happened over the past few weeks with like a group, targeting Malaysia, supposedly Malaysians targeting Malaysians. And there's two problems with this attitude to me. The first one is that actually if you look at Malaysia and the government's position on cybersecurity, we're actually one of the better countries of Southeast Asia. I mean, Singapore is ahead of us, but we're pretty much doing better than most in the region. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a very strong awareness and very strong will within the government and the National Security Council to actually move on this topic and to strengthen the cyber capacity of the country, cybersecurity capacity. Going back to that digital blueprint that was published last week, I think, the word cybersecurity comes 60 times. Right, so we know it's a major priority. So because there's this kind of idea that the government doesn't do anything. I would kind of
there's so much speculation because of everything that has happened.
And the other thing that I find problematic is this attitude of expecting governments to solve all our problems. And I think to us that's the key takeaway. That's the thing we'd like to people to understand is like this is your responsibility. It's not that the government doesn't care. It's that they just can't do what only you can do. Right?
There's a good one.
They can't make sure that you keep your phone up to date. They can't be behind your shoulder to know what application you're downloading. They can't be behind your shoulder to tell you what password to store, how to organize yourself. So there's a point we need to grow up, because if we behave like children, then we'll get government that will treat us as children. And I think that's not, what a free and fair society wants. So it really matters, it's individuals have to understand that it's their responsibility as in the private realm, right, within the family. It's also their duty as workers, as part of their company. I think one thing that we see with COVID and the work from home is that typically when we all work from an office, then your company has an IT team, sometimes a cybersecurity person. And so the job in order to keep your company secure is basically to secure the network of your office, right? You make sure that network is secure and every endpoint, every computer then is more or less protected. Now, because we work from home, it means that now everybody's network is a point of entry into your company's network.
Everybody's home is an office right now, right?
Yeah.
And we should have that IT department, ideally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can't have an IT department in everybody's house, but it means that everybody needs to kind of
Yep.
get up to date with what this is all about and how to reduce what we call the surface attack, right? The exposure to risk.
Yeah, true. So yeah, I just want to pause here because perhaps to address the audience, those who are watching right now from Facebook Live, I would want to invite those of you to write down your questions. If there's anything to ask our experts here, now is the time. Of course, it's just the tip of the iceberg. I realize how cybersecurity is huge, and hopefully if we can have more sessions, maybe highlighting which part of cybersecurity can we educate ourselves today, because this is super important. I think even having cybersecurity, it cannot be a foreign word. If that is for some of the audience here or some people here, we are living in a dinosaur age here. We should bring ourselves forward, and it is our responsibility to educate ourselves. So when it comes to tackling these issues or the problems of data breach and all these cyber criminals, right? My first question would be like, as individuals, okay, let's start with like, as young adults who are probably thinking of like, they're at home, maybe some just started a family, when they get a car, get a house, getting themselves equipped in terms of cybersecurity should be as important as that. It is essential in building a safe home. Yeah, but what would be the first step? How would we start to even think about it this way? What can young adults do to start today to be more informed on cybersecurity?
Me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So the question, be more informed, right? So of course, you need to. Okay, let's say when you mentioned about car just now, right? So when you buy a car, there's a manual, right? And you will read about it because you need to take care of the car, or else you're going to be damaged, right? So same goes to your devices, right? Example, if you buy a new phone, right? There's a fingerprint to lock, and there's a password, the PIN, and then there's a password for your emails, right? So you can start with the kind of small practice that you have control about. Read about the manual on your phone in terms of cybersecurity, privacy, term and conditions. Example, there's an issue whereby 2 years ago that Huawei became an issue, right? The US banned the Google banned Huawei to use Android, so they cannot use Android. So this is where you need to read about it. If you are using Huawei, you need to read about it. Is it you? The issue is related to you or not, right? So you don't need, because there's a lot of news or updates on the cybersecurity itself. It's a huge industry and a huge topic, but you can drill it down by look at what you have and read about it. Spend like 5 minutes to understand it, right?
Every day.
Not every day. When they say subscribe to the news, right? So same goes to the football, right? Let's say you watch football, so you always subscribe it, and then you will see the latest score. So don't skip that, right? So this is the at least a first step for you to closer to cybersecurity. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think again, what we like to emphasize in the work we do with One is always that aside from all it's a technological question, but it's not a question about technology per se. What matters is your mindset. It's all about people at the end. The attackers are people and the victims are people. We are people, right? So what you need to change is a mindset. And because we talk cybersecurity and people always think defense, right? I need to buy antivirus, and surely you should have an antivirus, and you don't need to buy one. A lot of free ones actually work wonders. You can also consider, for example, educating yourself on Linux, which is less prone to attacks. But as before being on the defensive, then it's start by being healthy. Start by having healthier habits. Right? It's just like medicine. You can eat very poorly, do no exercise, and then say, "Oh, I need to find a doctor, and what's the best surgery?" But actually, the right position is to eat healthy and do exercise. Right? So it's the same with your devices. Right? just start having like cybersecurity healthy practice, right? And that covers the way you manage your passwords. That covers the way you find information feeds that engage you in wanting to know more. The way you relate to other people. The way, especially, you take care of your children's also digital life.
Yeah. What are some examples? I know these are like in terms of how we use our devices. But could there be like a clear example? For example, if for me, if I do it once a month to just clear my searches or like clear my history on YouTube. I mean, is that something that people can do as this using and being aware of like how they are using their devices, right? And any more examples that are more practical, like today after watching this talk, people can do it?
No, I mean, actually, today after watching this talk, go to your web browser, for example, go to your Android, check if you're updated, because actually, a lot of the service providers and the products that we're using, obviously, they are security focused as well, right? Because their whole business goes away the moment they're breached. So actually, most of the service providers, they do a lot of work for you already, but usually we ignore it. How many times do we just see update later? But you shouldn't push that later, right? Especially for your browser. This is very important because a browser that's not up to date, an operation system that's not up to date, your Windows or your Android, that's vulnerability, right? So to me, I think one of the very basic stuff is just make sure you're up to date.
Yes.
Make sure you're up to date and make sure you only install programs that are trusted, right? So when people tell you, no, I've got this also, it's like one said at the beginning, if it looks too good to be true, it probably isn't true,
Yes.
right? It's probably dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a honeypot. They just want to catch you.
Yep. It's a trap, right? One of the phishing traps. Yeah, right. So there is a question I see here, one from Farah. Farah asks, what is the advice? I think you've started it with the being up to date in all our devices, the apps as well. So she asked actually 3 essential things to make sure that we are protected in the cyber world. So that would be one. Can we have like 2 more?
So I think you mentioned about password. So this is one of the most critical practice that you guys need in to do. So when I speak about password, right? So there's if you're using the simple password like I love my husband, I love my kids is awesome. This is kind of normal password being used. Don't try to be smart like saying, oh, my password is unique. No. You have the same mindset as others. So sometimes people use like password, PASWLIS, WRD, and you think people don't know. But no, the hacker can brute force, can guess at any time. In a few seconds, you will be breached. So it is important to come back to your question about the practice. It is important to have a but long is enough password. You can, when you set a password in your emails or any platform, they give you recommendations. And some of the platform give you a random password suggestion, recommended password to use, right? I know it's long, it's weird, you're not able to remember it, it's difficult, but this is kind of practice you need to do, right? Make sure it's 13 character at least, because 6 character is no use anymore. People can break it at any time, within seconds.
Even if it's like, symbols and numbers.
No, just forget about it. Don't try to be smart. Don't try to be smart.
It's all 1 and zeros. You have to remember, at the end of the day, this is all, we humans, we speak a language that has letters, right? And we can have an infinite numbers of combinations and there's different languages. And when it comes to digital computers, applications, interface, it all looks sexy and super creative. But the basic language of the digital world is 1s and zeros, right?
Yep.
And whether you have 6 letters or 8 letters, it doesn't matter if you think A, big A or small a, or it's very few 1s and zeros. You need to have a lot of 1s and zeros, and the best thing you can do to do this is at least go
more than six.
more than 12.
More than 12.
12 characters, and that's where you start mixing. And again, one mention, you know, a lot of service providers now, they give you recommendations. They recommend it for a good reason. Right. I mean, if you start looking, I engage you to Google, you know, like password leaks, you know, data breach, or even cybersecurity companies doing reports, and the change in terms of damage between having short passwords and big passwords is dramatic.
Immense.
There's
Wow.
nothing.
And that's so small, right? Just change your password, make it longer. You can already be more secure, one step at a time.
100%.
I would like to add more. So make sure that you also have regularly change your password of 3 months or 6 months, or preferable 3 months, because this is the reason behind it. So a lot of companies or solution provider or create a platform, a systems. We've been downloading apps so many times we can't even remember. We can't even keep track. There's a part where, do I subscribe to this app before? Oh no, but actually we already give our password, and our password for that platform is the same as our email. Right?
Yeah.
When that company been breached or got hacked, the hacker already have your password, and they're gonna use the same to log in to your email. This happened to Mark Zuckerberg as well. Mark Zuckerberg been hacked from LinkedIn, not from the Facebook. So you can search it. I just give you an indicator where you can find this use case. So sometimes it's not you already careful enough, but because of other people, the supply chains, or maybe another branch, or your team has been hacked, you also are victims of it.
We are part of the chain, definitely.
We are part of the chain.
It's a food chain, and there's very hungry and vicious sharks down there.
Yeah.
I just want, just to summarize, we mentioned about in terms of tips for the
the 3
auditor.
tips. I'm also remembering it.
So the
Can
updates,
I try? Yeah. One is to be up to date. Second one is to have a longer password, longer than 12 numbers or numbers or numerical. And the third one is to not have the same password
So
over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
those two have to come together as passwords,
I
because
see.
I want to bring a third point, which is about whether it's email or SMS.
Okay. Email
Right?
or SMS?
So what I'm saying is correspondence, right?
Okay.
We don't write letters anymore. We text or we send emails. Now, just be mindful when you open emails and when you click on links, whether it's emails or SMS. We know most actually of the scams in this country, in Malaysia, happen through tricking mobile phone users into sending an SMS code to win something, or they lure you with. So they send you
like you want something.
Yeah,
And
so-
like, okay.
So when you don't know who's the sender, whether it's an email or an SMS, just look away.
Yep.
And even when you do know, a lot of people, like, if I get my Gmail gets hacked, right? Now the hacker will use my account and he'll send an email to all my contacts saying, for example, hey, it's me, Quentin. I was traveling in Malaysia. I'm stuck. I lost my wallet. I've got no
my.
passport. I've got no credit card. Hey, Huda, hey, Juan, can you guys help me out? Can you send me $200 through PayPal?
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
So, and this is again is going back to just think clearly. Is Quentin usually does he usually do this? Right? So really think through in your interaction through when the messages you're receiving. Just always think, is this somebody I know?
Yeah.
And if it is somebody I know, is this the type of things he would do? Let me check.
Yeah, but that's if we know all our contacts. I think ever since the time of social media existing in our lives, we don't really know all our friends that are online, right? And then there's this like benefit of the doubt, or like, do I want to trust this? Yeah. Oh wow.
So, I think
There's
that
a lot.
that part of the responsibility is, if you're not sure, reach out, ask the experts, you need to ask people, hey, ask for opinion, ask for advice. Don't keep it to yourself and try to make your own decision on this, because you are not sure about it, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
like I said, don't try to be smart, because we are talking about a persistent, a very organized crime and very advanced. They are ready to manipulate the situations. So going to be a victim. So reach out, ask for advice from the expert, and share with people. It's okay. On top of you sharing a lot of things on Facebook, why don't you also reach out through that kind of thing? Yeah.
Right, yeah. I think, thank you for that. It's a good reminder because there is still time. I'm talking to the audience. If you want to ask, please ask now. We've asked all the questions that are here. And while we wait for more questions to come in, oh, actually there's one more here. So someone asked, Farah again asked about the random passwords that suggested. It is definitely okay and safe, but I think one thing that is at the back of our mind is like, is it important to remember those funky passwords? So this is a curious question. Because Google allows you to, I mean, they would remember it for you. So
yeah, you
is
can.
that safe?
Yeah, it's impossible to remember all of that, of course. But then there's solutions whereby there's an app that you can subscribe that can remember your password, and also Chrome has this function to manage your password. So make sure that you do not use the same password, but at least when you got breached, I wouldn't say you are 100% secure with this type of practice, right? There's no 100% safe security guarantee into this, but at least you make it harder for them to go further to gain information from you.
There's a kind of hierarchy in your passwords, right? So let's take a typical user. Let's stick with the non-iPhone people. Apologies for the iPhone friends.
Okay.
But typically, you're going to have an Android device and you're going to have a Gmail account, right? That covers a lot of people, and your browser is going to be Chrome, right? Now, your Google account, this is critical, right? Because nowadays, you're going to use, from this Google account, you're going to sign to all those sorts of things.
Yep.
In this Google account are going to be saved all your passwords.
Yep.
Now, this one should be complex, and you should have it safeguarded, written down on a piece of paper, offline, right? Because this is your root password. From this password, if the hacker has this password, he's got all your other passwords. The others, those are the ones that Chrome can keep for you, right? If you're creative and you have a Canva account or an Adobe account, your Facebook even, whatever. Those are like almost smaller. So you have to, you just have to think clearly. Yeah. What's the priority here? Yeah. What is at risk? Sometimes, if I create an account for whatever, a forum, let's say, right? Now, what data have I given to that forum? I've given a username and a password. Maybe that's all. So if that account gets hacked, I don't have much at stake, right? It's not the same if my Google account gets hacked, where then he can go into the admin dashboard and maybe I already have my debit card there in my Google Play Store. It's the same for Apple. Your Apple ID, I think it's called. Mm-hmm. This is a critical password. This is the root of your ecosystem.
Yeah.
So,
thanks for sharing it. I think it got me thinking about just our mindset. Like when you mentioned about having this hierarchy of passwords, I don't think many people are aware of that. And let alone, like, I'm thinking of my students right now, like teenagers who are just so easily, changing phones every day. We don't know how they're using the internet. We don't know how they're learning. And yes, to be equipped ourselves is one. Others, like, how do we help those under our care? Or even like for me, if I think of my parents who are still struggling with their email, I mean, there's this sense of responsibility as well, even more, which is why we have to open our eyes and learn for ourselves so that we can help others as well. Yeah, but on that note, like, to be more secure online, and for those of us who are, so to say, not in the IT world, but everyone's on the internet now. But it's just a mindset. If we want to block that, it's also we will receive the consequence.
Yes, correct. And I think I want to go further a bit. This is something that just came across into my mind, whereby, what if, hey, do I really need to have this cybersecurity mindset? Because I have nothing. I only have like 500 ringgit in my bank account, and have nothing to lose. And my life also very decent. But for me, what can the hacker or the bad guy gain from you? Because I have no money. No, remember, you can be part of the tools that used for the crime. Example, right? Let's say the hacker have access into your computer, right? and then he has also access into your blog, right? So your blog going to be used summary for crypto mining. This is
Crypto mining.
yeah, this is a new trend. I think
Okay.
it started like 5 years ago, 6 years ago,
Mhm.
whereby people can make money to mine the data, right? So this is one part, and also they can use your blog, your computer to to send to fake email or use your blog, right? Like Quentin said, they're gonna reach everybody in your contact and fake it like something that can profitable for them. So this is a very long story. It's very persistent. This is the target not for you today, but this is the plan for them to launch a bigger attack for another 6 months, right? So you not part of it as a person, as a one single device, you can't see the impact. But what if I have 1,000 devices, and then if I can direct this device to attack one person, one VIP or important people, they will flooded with the 1,000 messages from the devices that get been hacked before, been compromised. So this is the bigger game. So what I'm trying to say, I don't want to be part of it. Yes, how to not be part of it? Take care of your blog, take care of your WordPress website, take care of your phone. This is so you not be part of it. Yeah.
Right. To not be part of it, you have to actually address the fact that you are part
Well,
of
you
it.
are.
Yeah.
I think one brings a very very critical point, which is what you're summarizing now. It's just we live in a very interconnected world. What's unfolded over the past 40 years is quite dramatic, and 40 years is a very short span. All right, there's not one generation that was born under it and died under it, right? So, and we are all interconnected. So why would I care? Right? I've got nothing at stake. Right? That's the typical. And I want to make two parallels, because the first one is regarding data privacy. So we hear a lot of people. A lot of people now are talking about what someone in researcher called Shoshana Zuboff called surveillance capitalism. Right? So we have big companies that are gathering a lot of. They have all our data. Think of Facebook, for example, right? And some people say, why should I care? I've got nothing to hide, right? Just like I have no money to lose. Now, the issue, it's not just about you, because you have nothing to hide, and he has nothing to hide, and he has nothing to hide. But when Facebook sees everything, and Facebook sells those data to people, for example, that are motivated by political agenda, and then that data that might not seem directly significant to you is actually used to get a tyrant to be the president of your country.
Wow.
And then it is your concern. The other parallel I want to draw is with the virus. It's like coronavirus, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm in my 30s, I'm healthy. Why would I care, right? Because I don't think I'm going to die if I get coronavirus, as far as I'm concerned. But maybe I get it, and I visit my auntie, and she's weak, and I transmit it to. So you're not living in a bubble. You're not living in a bubble. And it's not because we're all working now from home that we're living in a bubble. It's actually less the case.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what people need to understand.
Yeah.
There's a unity in the cyber world. And we are one community online, actually.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter whether you think you're at risk or not. You are part of a bigger picture. And if you have some sense of responsibility, then you should act upon that understanding.
Yes. Thanks for bringing the parallel with the virus pandemic that we are all in. I think that is one thing that can open people's minds, because it is a parallel, right? If we want to say hashtag kita jaga kita, right? This is an extension of it too. We have to take care of each other online. And yeah, if let's say if we are running some practices at home, I'm just imagining like what can, as a family unit also, you can adopt certain practices to do together with your children, to do together with your parents. I think this is very important. Like, there is a question actually, someone asked about with elderly, where maybe the elderly, it's tough to advise them in a way that we can advise children and kids and they just take it. But for elderly, it's more of a, how can we go about it? Yeah.
How can
any
we damage
advices
control?
here? Yeah, because I'm thinking of my own father. He's a telecommunication expert, but he believes that he knows everything, and it's like, how can I come and say, no, there's more things that we have to know together?
We can help you hack him.
Yeah. so for the elderly, right? So this is what I do to my mom. My dad not really into the smartphone things. My mom is really quite active to connect with the kids, including, of course, me. So what I told my mom that you always can reach me. I offered very clear. If you have nothing, you have not sure about anything, like if someone sending asking for money out of nowhere, or someone that you know about it, but you have like, oh, this is something that I need to ask my son. I always make myself available to answer it. So at first I start with, you can ask me anything because you can't explain cybersecurity to your mom. I tried this for 20 years in cybersecurity. Only recently my mom understand about it. Recently, right? So this is the jihad doesn't happen one day. Yeah, I've been explaining to my mom. My mom don't even know what I'm doing in terms of security. When my mom have a smartphone, now it started.
It makes sense.
Yeah, she started to ask me. And then I open it to my mom, make it easier for her. It's like, Mom, if you have anything that not sure about your phone, just ask me. And then slowly I'll drill it down. This is data privacy. This is cybersecurity issue. This is not an issue at all. So you have to break down. Take your time, like the way your mom spend time when they grow us up, right? Take care of a baby. Take your time with it. Yeah, you have to treat the same.
Yeah, thank you, Wan, for bringing that. I think if I can reiterate it, it's like just by doing that, even having good communication with our parents is one way towards being more secure in cybersecurity, right?
Yeah. So let me go deeper a bit. That's on the surface, right? And I go deeper, the kind of issue that my mom asked, right? There's no internet when he's in the car on the way to my grandmother's house. There's no internet, and my mom simply said, "Oh, is this because the Wi-Fi is off at home? My mom is somewhere else." You can see this level of understanding. I'm not saying that my mom is stupid. It just this is not in the era before, right? Something that new for them.
Yes.
So you need to explain that what is Wi-Fi, what is GSM network,
Yes.
and then how can the Wi-Fi can be a threat when you use a password like your phone number. So we haven't go this yet. Maybe
True.
when we have a second session,
Yes,
we
I
can
think we
look
are in
into
need
this
of that.
Wi-Fi thing because this is a huge problem because everybody have a Wi-Fi now. Even Muka have like multiple Wi-Fi now. So imagine if you're not using HTTPS, there's encryptions. I think we need another session to explain this.
Yeah.
You're
We
gonna
totally
think like
need
forever.
another session.
So definitely, I'm requesting Muka to sponsor another session with us.
I gladly come aboard to like see where can we bring this. I mean, just to also, I'm thinking right now. Okay, if we have a choice, I was in school. I remember very well that my teachers needed help with their emails. My elderly teachers, and I was just like, Form 5 at that time. And then like, okay, instead of saying okay and like I'll do it for you, which is usually what elderly wants us to do, just do it for me and it's done. We can actually go the extra mile and say like, here, I can do it with you, not for you.
Oh my God.
Let's do it together. So in a way, we are educating each other. That's really, really important. Yeah.
Actually, cybersecurity is a very nice topic since everybody has a smartphone and a new Malaysia framework.
Yes.
They want to have 100% the housewife to have internet access. 100%. So everybody in this country, by the new framework, just released 2 weeks ago, the government wants to have 100% internet to the housewife. So imagine, this is like a topic that everybody can
Needs
talk
to know.
over the dinner,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So this is an interesting topic. But how you as a son can bring it to elderly? Maybe we can speak another session about this.
Yeah, let's. That's right. So just checking for any more questions. Alhamdulillah, we answered all the questions. But surely we should have another session to together learn, relearn, unlearn what needs to be done so that we can carry on with cybersecurity knowledge.
I think I also want to learn about how can bring this topic to elderly. Let's we extract it together because I spent my 20 years, I got busy with my work, right? to be able to speak my mom and my dad about this would be something that benefit to everyone.
I think the tricky part and what you've experienced over the last 20 years is it's one thing to have a very simple discourse, and that's already actually very complex, right? But in order to have a very simple discourse, from an educated point of view, you have to go very deep into it, right? So right now we're at a point where we have people like Juan that have dedicated, more than 2 decades to going very deep to, what is like national security levels, right? So we're talking now state-to-state espionage, terrorism, and electronic warfare. Now, there are people frontliners, right? Yeah. Now, how do we help those frontliners actually to kind of be able to produce some of the wisdom that they have, and in a format that is digestible by mom and pops.
People.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that's definitely something that I think cybersecurity professionals are aware. People like Juan. I think the public authorities are also aware of it. And I just wanted to mention something that I think is also very critical to what we're trying to do with Juan, and what Juan's been trying to do for, again, a very long time in this country, is that if you look at cybersecurity as an industry on a world level, it is heavily driven by a few countries, right? So typically the United States, the UK, and Israel, France. I mean, the big guys that we usually find. Russia is on its own ball because they're not exactly on the same side.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to say is that we as people in Southeast Asia, or you can think of the Muslim world more generally, I mean, most of the rest of the world really, we are following practices that are relevant and good, but are mostly tailored for the needs of those countries.
Right.
And the
So
threats
need
we
more
face
custom.
are not the same. Yeah? So we really need to have our home. Security is not something you can delegate. Security is it's integrity. We as Malaysia, as the community in Southeast Asia,
culture,
or even
tradition,
as the Muslim world, we
languages
have to have
are
our own
different.
capacity, and that's one of the biggest I think tasks for the coming decades, really. And it starts by obviously making sure that people around us are safe, but it also requires like nurturing talents. We've got a lot of bright kids in this country. It's crazy. We've got a wonderful
Yes, I believe you.
The educational system is good. The IT infrastructure is good. And we need to get those young guys to be interested about making sure that their country and their communities are safer online.
Yeah.
And it's a really fun field to work in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I mean, clearly there's a lot of passion going on. Thank you, Quentin. Thank you, Juan, for sharing with us your insight. I mean, I'm curious now to ask more questions, but yep, next session. We need a next session, okay? Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Alhamdulillah, have a good weekend, and make sure you change your passwords today. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.